playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A new week begins right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time to look back on the weekend that was and kickstart your new week live right here on the grid. As Donnie likes to say, new week, new money, new day, new money, and that's what we do on this Monday. But it was a huge weekend around the world of sports. Game number 2 of the 2024 NBA Finals last night in Boston, where the Celtics are making it look easy once again against the Dallas Mavericks. A full weekend in Major League Baseball and multiple championships at stake across sports this weekend. The Memorial Tournament, where Scottie Scheffler continues to be the most dominant player in golf. We had action on the clay in Paris at the 2024 French Open. Iga Swiatek dominant in the women's draw, and Carlos Alcaraz, the 21-year-old prodigy, stands atop the tennis world once again. So much to break down and look back at on this Monday, Donnie, on the Early Line.
And it is major championship weekend. Golf, Pinehurst number 2 is going to take center stage later in the week. So some great things to look forward to. And hopefully, Ben, we can look forward to an unbelievable performance in the NBA by the Mavericks at home to try to get back into this series here. So a lot to get through. But as you said, new week, new money. Very profitable over the weekend with RBI. Let's continue that streak here. Not a great card setting up. So I want to set the standard for the people out there. But some interesting things across, which does include game number 2 on the NHL.
The weather heating up outside. That means your Ribby props all summer long with Donnie Rightside in Major League Baseball will keep on rolling. We hope Dallas can muster up a defense at home when game number 3 starts in just a few days, because the first 2 in Boston, rather easy for the C's. The Celtics take a 2-0 series advantage in the 2024 NBA Finals. Now just 2 victories away from championship banner number 18 in Beantown after a 105-98 win in game number 2. Now, depending on where you got that number, you either pushed last night or You covered if you're the Boston Celtics. 6.5-point spread at the close, but was 7 for most of the buildup and lead in to game number 2. Either way, a total of 215 stays well under, and Boston takes a 2-0 series lead.
Love Luka Doncic coming into that game. Over 31.5. Thought it made a lot of sense as we were breaking this down on Friday. But here's what I just can't understand at this point. The information coming out of Dallas, which apparently every once in a while says, boy, Luka can't even walk right now. Like, this is going to be shot. I think only to go out and go 32, 11, and 11 and play major minutes here. Now, the crux of the argument is going to be, which we'll talk about in the next segment, is can somebody please step up and help Luka Doncic? We've seen this before in the past with the Mavericks. We thought we had that remedy there with Kyrie Irving. It's just not taking place right now. It's a one-man gang going up right now against the Boston Celtics. That's not going to win very many games here, Ben.
It's his third, that being Luka Doncic's third 30-point triple-double throughout this NBA postseason. 32 points, 11 dimes, 11 boards last night against Boston. But Luka is looking everywhere in the starting 5, at the role players in the starting lineup, on the bench, and saying, give me some help. I'm walking like a 42-year-old dad that tried to live it up once again for a big weekend with his friends, and yet he still goes out and delivers. Kyrie Irving, where are you? P.J. Washington, second consecutive game as the Mavericks' second leading scorer. That is not a recipe for success for Dallas in the NBA championship series. And because of it, Boston takes advantage. Huge night for Drew Holiday, as we'll recap in just a minute. But again, the Celtics a commanding 2-0 series lead. The best team in the NBA all year long. The best home team in the NBA all year long, holding serve on its home floor. Now we go to the clay over in France. The 2024 French Open men's final yesterday between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev. Alcaraz, 21 years old, in 3 Grand Slam titles to his name, becoming the youngest player ever, DRS, to win a title on all 3 surfaces. The hard court at the 2022 U.S. Open, the grass of Wimbledon last summer in July, and now on the clay of Roland Garros, the 2024 French Open champion in the men's draw, Carlos Alcaraz, at only 21 years old.
And pretty impressive, too, the way he got it done. Looks like down, 2-1 there, heading in 6-1, then 6-2 to close it out. Exciting times across, and there we go. Tennis over so quickly here, Ben. What happened? Barely was a blink of an eye.
I know DRS is going to be devastated by that, but it was a 5-set thriller yesterday in that final match between Sasha Zverev and Carlos Alcaraz. Down 2-1, Alcaraz storms Zverev in the final 2, 6-1, 6-2, to claim that third Grand Slam title with a victory at either next year's Australian Open, the 2026 Australian Open, or the 2027 Aussie Open. Alcaraz can become the youngest player in the Open era in men's tennis history to win the career Grand Slam. Major League Baseball action from the weekend. Marquee matchup up in the Bronx between the Yankees and the Dodgers. LA took the first 2, including Friday night, with yours truly in attendance in extra innings. But the Yankees avoid the sweep yesterday with a 6-4 victory. Third home run in the final 2 games of the series for Aaron Judge. He and Trent Grisham propel the Yanks to a victory in the third and final game.
How about that? And by the way, Luis Hill, 5 2/3 innings, pitched 3 earned runs, which is okay. ERA now sits just over 2 at 2.04. But the Yanks really got after glass now. 6 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, but also another titanic shot late by Aaron Judge, sort of to put a capper on that one. It was a fantastic series from start to finish, and maybe a preview of what we might be seeing in the World Series.
Maybe so. Both teams certainly trending there. LA's first trip to Yankee Stadium in nearly a decade ends with a series victory, but the Yankees do win yesterday, 6-4 in the finale, to avoid the sweep. Now we go across the pond to London for the International London Series this weekend between the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. The Phils win the opener 7-2. A wild play to end it, though, in game number 2 of this London set. Bases juiced, bottom of the 9th, 1 out for Nick Castellanos, who is finding his form for Philadelphia. Slow roller in front of home plate. Luis Torrens, the catcher for the Mets, turns a 2-3 double play to end it, and the Amazons survive 6-5 with the victory.
If you would have told me Taijuan Walker had 5 2/3 innings pitched and gave up 2 earned runs, which technically he didn't give up. He left the game there where they were in control 3-0, and the bullpen, which has been spectacular for the Phillies, gave it away. But I thought this would be a split series, but after the Phillies had a 3-0 lead in game number 2 of the series, you thought it should be a mini sweep, but it wasn't. It's baseball. You're going to lose games that you're supposed to win. Good comeback by the Mets. Disastrous bullpen effort by the Philadelphia Phillies.
Still the best winning percentage at 45-20 for the Phils in all of Major League Baseball. Plenty more around Major League Baseball later in this opening hour, but there is no better golfer on planet Earth right now than Scottie Scheffler. 5 victories in his last 8 events. That includes the Masters. That includes everything that happened at Valhalla around the PGA Championship. And now the Memorial Tournament at Jack's Place yesterday. Despite a triple on Saturday, Scottie Scheffler holds on in the final round to win the Memorial Tournament at 8 under par.
Yeah, fantastic finish all the way through, and also a great gallery there at 18, watching that all go down. But Scottie Scheffler, 5-footer for the win, drains it center cut there, and away he walks with another victory as we look towards major championship week for the Open this week at Pinehurst.
Our nation's national championship, the U.S. Open this week down in North Carolina at Pinehurst number 2. Scottie Scheffler, unsurprisingly, a very short favorite. The New York Liberty, victory yesterday, 93-88 over the Washington Mystics, although the Sticks winless do cover as a 14.5-point underdog. Hold on. Have the Sticks won a game? No, they're 0-12. Still, that clinches home floor advantage for New York in the WNBA Commissioner's Cup final, that in-season tournament mixed in with regular season play. And today, a big day in the Northeast in terms of basketball. Dan Hurley set to make his decision. Will he stay in stores? Will he head out to Hollywood to coach the Lakers? Reportedly, we find out today. More from Game 2 of the NBA Finals next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 9.20 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Game number 2 last night inside TD Garden of the 2024 NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. And frankly, DRS, after 2 games of this NBA championship set, for a Boston team who has played 51 games now at home inside TD Garden this year and won 45 of them, it should not be a surprise necessarily that the Celtics hold a 2-0 series advantage in the NBA Finals. But the manner in which it has happened does leave questions for how competitive the rest of the NBA Finals are going to be. 105-98, the victory for Boston in Beantown last night. Again, incredibly important where you got the number. For most of Sunday, it was 6.5 in favor of the C's. For the days leading up to game number 2, it was 7 in favor of Boston. Did you push? Did the C's cover? That remains to be seen. But Boston did take a 2-0 series lead with a 7-point victory. Total of 215 stays well under both of the opening 2 games in this series. The total has stayed well under that pregame total.
And you take a look at the Mavericks in the series right now, down 0-2. Okay, you go back to Dallas, see if you can win a couple games and even it up while you get to game number 5. But here's the tough part of the pill to swallow for the Mavericks. You're watching this play out, and the Boston Celtics, Ben, aren't even playing great basketball. They won that game last night shooting 45% as a team and also included only 25% from three-point range. It's one thing if you're losing a game 127-126, both teams gave their best effort. What are you going to do? But the fact that the Boston Celtics aren't even bringing their A game and beating the Dallas Mavericks, that's a problem. Now, we started before the series because the Mavericks in this playoff run, let's just say post-All-Star break, have been very good, but they've been getting help across the board to help out their superstar Luka Doncic. That's not happening anymore. Like Kyrie Irving is going back into a shell where he has to be 1A, if not 1, every night for the Dallas Mavericks in order for them to compete. Here was the questions that we brought up before the series, Ben, and quite frankly, it's playing out right now. There's just a better supporting cast for the Boston Celtics. We didn't come into the series going, you know what? Tatum's got to go crazy. Brown's got to go crazy because not much behind them. We knew that you could get a balanced attack out of them. But talking about the Dallas Mavericks, it was like, okay, combined 65-plus points there for Irving and Doncic. That'll put us in the ball game. Maybe we can win this. It's playing out right in front of our eyes. I hope it changes once you get back to Dallas because the one thing you do have to look at is the simple fact is your B players usually play better at home, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah.
But somebody has to help Luka out, and nobody's doing that right now.
So Boston did cover in game number 1, depending on where you got the number. Boston might have covered in game number 2, but a story for the second game of the 3 series for both of these clubs entering Dallas on the road in all 3 of their opening rounds, victorious as an underdog in game number 2. Boston had dropped 2 of the 3 previous game 2s as a home favorite against the Heat, and the Cavaliers did cover in the Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana. That story not really a part of the narrative last night. Very competitive opening half between the Celtics and the Mavs. No more than a 4-point lead on either side throughout that second quarter, but then Boston started to pull away. You've probably seen the clip of the chase down block from Derek White. Was it clean? Did he get the right hand of P.J. Washington? About a minute remaining with the Mavs down 5, starting to cut back into the double-digit lead for the C's. I'm not sure it would have ultimately made a difference in terms of who won the basketball game, but a cover very much potentially so. Dallas now, Donnie, 6-3 straight up as an underdog in this postseason. They were 6-1 straight up entering the NBA Finals. Either they win outright or they do not cover the numbers. So as we look at the story of the game, we'll focus on the Mavericks in just a moment. But you said it. As we were breaking down this series and the way it has played out so far, it was the best player on the floor in Luka Doncic, maybe the best duo, but Kyrie Irving has been absent from the NBA Finals so far versus the more balanced and better roster in Boston. And we have seen that in each of the opening 2 games of the NBA Finals. Kristaps Porzingis in his first game since the end of April. Sensational off the bench in game number 1. It wasn't Jason Tatum. It wasn't Jaylen Brown. It was Drew, one of the other Jays, Drew Holiday, for Boston last night. 26 points, 11 of 14 from the floor. Incredibly efficient, and 11 rebounds. He was Boston's leading scorer in game number 2. Again, that depth, that balance, That was the key for Boston in Game 2.
It certainly was. And also that defense did show up, by the way, defending the three-point line. You take a look at the Mavericks yesterday, 6 of 26, which is only 23%. Yeah. And also, in a close game, it's 7 points here. Look at the free throw disparity. 16 of 24 for the Dallas Mavericks, which is only 66% as a team. Maybe make a couple of those there, and late in the game, you're right in this thing. But it's just that same notion of somebody helped Luka out, 32 points, and also ending into the game. What was it, a knee injury, an ankle injury, and some other injury that he was bothered with? It's like, man, this is going to be crazy. Maybe it's a blowout game, and it still wasn't. And Luka was fantastic and played 42 minutes in this game, and it still wasn't enough. Maybe things do change once you get back to Dallas, but also something happened late in this ball game, which I love to be the doctor on. You saw Kristaps Porzingis maybe about midway through the fourth quarter, tweak that calf, comes up. Nope. You're not going to keep me out of game number 3. That's something to keep an eye on at this point here, because when that calf injury is going to flare up, how effective can he be? And he was effective once again last night. And I'm not saying it would even be a series shifting move if he wasn't able to, let's just say, play in games 3 and 4 and waits till game number 5. But that's another guy down that was playing good basketball. It's just on the Mavericks to show up in one of these games. Outside of Luka Doncic, somebody give me something that we can rely on. We'll see if that happens coming up next. But a 2-0 series lead for the Boston Celtics, Ben, as you pointed out. The Celtics did have some trouble game number 2s in their own building. Not anymore. They're up 2-0 heading back to Dallas, commanding series lead of 2-0.
With the closing numbers, 6.5 points in favor of the Celtics in each of the first 2 games, Boston has not only held serve on its home floor, the Celtics have covered on their home floor as well. 9-7 against the spread now as a favorite in all 16 playoff games for Boston. 6-4 against the number, and 8-2 straight up at home throughout this tremendous playoff run. We'll talk about the Jays, that being Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the other side. And if anybody can truly help Luka Doncic, that's you, Kyrie Irving, in a place where you said it wasn't as hostile as you expected it to be inside Beantown. We'll continue the conversation around the NBA Finals up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
So let's talk about all that we have in the 2024 NBA Finals as of this moment. Boston is up 2-0. And the conversation entering this NBA championship series is how would the best player in the set, that being Dallas's Luka Doncic, contend with the depth that is Boston? So far, 2 wins for the C's, 2 wins for the depth of the Celtics, because despite Jaylen Brown being the team's leading scorer in game number 1, despite Jason Kidd and getting ready for game number 2, that being the head coach of the Mavs, say that Jaylen Brown is Boston's best player, and despite a 6 of 22 performance from the floor last night from Jason Tatum, albeit just 1 rebound shy of a triple-double, the Celtics are up 2-0, and neither of these two gentlemen has really run away with the distinction of being the best player even for Boston, let alone in the series overall. And the Celtics walk away from Beantown with a 2-0 series lead, covering in both games on their home floor, now 45-6 straight up, and 28-21-2 against the number in 51 games this season played inside TD Garden.
And that's the tough part here, and that's why the Mavericks really need an unbelievable performance in game number 3 from somebody outside of Luka Doncic. If you're entering into the series, and I like to just take a look at box scores here, and if I told you, hey, by the way, 2 superstars for Boston, they played okay for the first 2 games. Luka was putting up major stats here. Oh, they probably got away with at least one of those victories, and back to Dallas you head. And that's not the case. They're down 0-2, which is a tough pill to swallow, because it would be one thing if you showed up in Boston and Luka was underperforming. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and hobbling around. Well, what do you want him to do? They're not going to win unless he has big-time performances. As you pointed out, another 30-point triple-double, and it didn't equate to a victory here. Somebody has to step up and match Luka, because here's what we know. Luka, Ben, is probably going to play well for the rest of the series. But you know what we're waiting on? That Jason Tatum 37-point performance that just takes over a game the way we've seen him do that in the past. That's waiting on the table. And that's what hurts if you're looking to back the Mavericks at this point. We haven't got the Celtics' best game, and they're still up 2-0. If they hit the gas pedal and play their best basketball, I don't know what's going to happen unless Kyrie goes for 35 and Luka goes for 40 points in a game. That's the problem. That's also the type of concepts we talked about before this series started. What was going to happen here? You needed the 2 superstars for the Mavericks to go off every game. You didn't need that from the Celtics, and that's what's playing out right now.
Yep, it is exactly playing out the way that we saw it and the way that we previewed it. And oftentimes, we are not incredibly spot on or can see the future with 100% certainty. But that is what is played out here throughout the NBA Finals. It might sound bare bones, it might sound surface level, but that has been the key through the NBA Finals at this moment. Luka Doncic posted his 3rd 30-point triple-double of this NBA postseason, his 6th triple-double of the NBA playoffs for Dallas in 19 playoff games so far last night. 32 points, 11 dimes, 11 boards over every prop that he had. 31 and a hook was the points prop. If you thought Dallas was going to keep this game close, it was a natural look. They did not cover by the hook, and Luka Doncic went over his points prop by the hook as well. But, Donnie, like game 1, as we left game 1, we said if P.J. Washington is going to be the Mavs' second leading scorer, they might not win a single game in this series. They're certainly not going to win this series, and they're probably not even going to force it to go to a 6th game. P.J. Washington, Dallas' second leading scorer last night, because Kyrie Irving, 16 points for Dallas again. And abysmal from the floor. 0 from deep once again. He was 0 of 5 in game 1, 7 of 18 from the floor overall. If Kyrie Irving cannot help Luka Doncic, Dallas is not going to win a single game in the NBA championship series, because we have said Luka Doncic is the NBA Finals best player, and he has lived up to the billing. Could Dallas's dynamic duo that we saw in large part for all 5 games of the Western Conference Finals outweigh the Celtics' depth? Maybe that was the key ingredient. It hasn't happened so far. And we're going to have some very interesting conversations about Kyrie Irving, who was really non-existent in this playoff run up until the second half of game number 6 in the second round against Oklahoma City, and was flat out sensational, scoring 30-plus in 3 of the 5 against Minnesota. But here, under 20 in each of the first 2 games, and his points prop, Donnie, has been 23 and a hook in each of the first 2.
Yeah, Jason Kidd's got to come up with some concepts here. They're going to be able to get him going early because we've seen that before. Kyrie Irving wants to take over early. He can do that. He's going to need that. And by the way, game 3, it's the series. That goes to the Celtics. Just turn it off. It's a wrap on this point. Let's see if we can get an extended series, which we anticipated before this series even began.
So let's look at those series odds and the outlook now. Up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
So what does the rest of the 2024 NBA Finals have in store for us? Is it going to be another easy series for the Boston Celtics, or will the return to Dallas light a fire under the Mavs where it needs to, as they are in an 0-2 hole returning to Texas? The RS at this moment. Boston entered the NBA Finals this season as a -225 favorite to win their 18th Larry O'Brien trophy in franchise history. Now a number that we were often accustomed to seeing for Boston throughout this playoff run. A 4-digit price with a minus in front to win a series. Now just 2 wins away from number 18, their 18th NBA championship at -1,000. Boston to cover 2.5 games is -152. And now the shortest price in terms of how many games this series goes is 5. A gentleman's sweep once again for the Celtics. That would be 3 of their 4 postseason series wrapped up in only 5 games, with the other one being a clean sweep in 4. Will it be easy once again for the C's?
I mean, it looks like it. It really does. And also, if you're looking at today, if you would have told me before the series started, and I had no idea how the first 2 games played out, I knew the final scores, but didn't know who was doing what, if there's any injuries possible. And you told me, hey, by the way, Celtics are going to go up 2-0 before they head back to Dallas. Series is a wrap. And that's usually what it is. The odds are going to say that. And also, this weren't 2 upsets here to start the series. Dallas is not the better basketball team than Boston. Boston has the lead. So game number 3, a lot is going to be on the line. But just looking at those price points and numbers, it's pretty apparent. Like, Dallas is a good team. -1,000 for the Boston Celtics. You say to yourself, oh, man, that's a really steep price. But you know what I'm also saying at the same time, Ben? I don't want to jump in on plus 660 on the Dallas Mavericks. Man, that's an unbelievable price because of what I've seen. And also, I don't know what's going on with Luka Doncic. And I say this because we've seen this pop up in the playoffs here. Playing well. Oh, no, multiple injuries. We don't know if he's playing tonight. Downgrade on game day. Sooner than later, this is going to catch up with you, and maybe he leaves midway through game number 3. I don't know the severity of the injuries. I can only go with what Dallas is telling us. Hey, if this was the regular season, he'd be sitting out some basketball games. That's tough to be down 0-2, and your best player is dinged up. What more can he give you than 30-point triple-doubles? Yeah. And it's not even enough to win. What happens if he gives you, Ben, an average game? I don't think it's going to be a sweep. It does look like it's going to be 5 games, but we'll know a lot more once game number 3 ends, because if the Celtics get a victory any way, shape, or form, playing well or not playing well, it's over at that point. Then you turn and say, well, what's Luka going to offer us for the final 4 games, if there are a final 4 games, let alone final 2 games left in the series?
And, Donnie, we talked about this on Friday morning following Game 1 on Thursday night. It was just one game, but it was a dominant win for Boston, of course, winning by 18 points. So the shortest number for this series entering Game number 2 was the C's in 5 at plus 240. It is still the same story in terms of what the most likely outcome is. Boston in 5 at plus 175. But I told you on Friday morning, my best bet for the series odds was over 5.5 total games. Now at minus 132, 5.5 total games is still that total games over under for the series. But the under now has the hefty juice at minus 152. Either could be a Celtics sweep in 4 or a gentleman's sweep by Boston in 5. There is only one way this series goes beyond 5 games to a 6th, maybe even a return to Boston, and it's not Luka Doncic. It's Kyrie Irving, who has been flat out abysmal. Maybe flat out is what Kyrie enjoys more than anything, but he has been atrocious in this series. The efficiency numbers have been dreadful. The output has been dreadful. His points prop in game number 1, 23.5. He stayed well under. His points prop for game number 2, expecting a resilient effort, stayed at 23.5. He finished with 16. He is 0 of 8 from deep, and the second leading scorer for Dallas in the NBA Finals has been P.J. Washington. If Luka Doncic did not get back into the locker room last night and cuss everybody out in Slovenian, then there is no hope for the Mavericks remaining in the 2024 NBA Finals.
Yeah, and by the way, you are setting up this game number 3, and we've seen massive favorites here in games 1 and 2 by the Boston Celtics. That's not the case, as we see Dallas as a favorite at home the way it should be, because you are looking at the Dallas Mavericks understanding if they don't win game 3, the series and their season is just all but over. Yep. If you win game number 3, you are back in the series with another game on your home court to even it up before you get back to game number 5. But we just need to see a lot more, and I'd still preface this, but it's not as if, again, Boston is playing great basketball and say, man, maybe getting them out of their building, we should be able to take them down. We're still waiting on that A performance by Boston where they drop 125 points and everybody is kicking in. But also keep this in mind. You saw that injury late to Kristaps Porzingis in game number 2. I understand what he's talking about. Athletes are always the same way. Hey, you know what? Tweaked it a little bit. I'm going to be fine. It's going to be hard to keep me off the court, which means, hey, coach, I might be available, but is he going to be able to play? Because the thought process, right, Ben, played 20, 22 minutes game number 1, increase it to 25 minutes, then go 30, and eventually he might be a starter. I would be surprised right now, just based on leaving the game with a calf injury and having a 2-0 series lead, if he gets rushed back into action in game number 3, and if he does, is it even less than 20 minutes? Talking about like 10 minutes just to maybe get a defensive mismatch in there late in the game if you need it. That's a key injury to watch along with Luka Doncic, but I do still feel good about the Mavericks in game number 3. This should be their game. This should be their best performance. This should be the game that keeps them in the series. If not, it's over. It's as simple as that.
No doubt about it. 1.5 point spread for game number 3, minus 122 on the money line. There is your bet. A couple of days off. Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time is tip in game number 3. To your point about Kristaps Porzingis, 20 points, of course, in game number 1. Sensational in his first action in nearly a month and a half since the end of April in game 4 of the opening round set against Miami. 12 points last night. And an incredibly hot start once again in the opening stanza for Boston. Plus minus of 12 for KP off the bench as well. And one thing has really played out in this series. What is the great equalizer for an underdog to win a game, to cover a number? The three-point shot. Dallas in game 1, 7 of 27. Dallas in game 2, 6 of 26. Boston has not been great on the other side. In game number 1, Donnie, 42 attempted threes. Boston only made 16. Last night, 39 attempted deep balls. They only made 10. They have not shot it well, but the efficiency numbers at which Boston operates at and just the output they have from three, it's been such a decisive advantage for the Celtics. There was a legitimate chance, I think many here on this network and across all of the NBA believe that Dallas could actually win the NBA championship. Not just get to 6 games or 7, but actually win. I don't really feel that is capable for the Mavericks at this moment. You mentioned the plus 660 price. Is there any belief the Mavericks can win the NBA title?
No, I don't have any belief in that. And again, we're not flip-flopping back and forth. Like before the series started, we thought it was going to be the Boston Celtics. And nobody is unbelievably surprised that Boston won the first 2 games at home, securing home court advantage. But the fact of the matter is we expected great performances out of Boston in game 1 and game 2. They didn't have that, and they still won those games. That's why it seems like it's a little bit more daunting. And again, just going back, if the games, technically, let's just say game 2 was close, but it felt like the Celtics were in control of that entire game after the first quarter, and they were. Now it's up to the changes to be made by the coaching staff, which includes Jason Kidd, to sort of get Kyrie going. Because you know what I want to see in game number 3? I don't need to see Luka with 13 points again in the first quarter. I don't need that. I need to see Kyrie Irving with 7 points in the first quarter, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, and being aggressive, and getting to the free throw line, and watching that first 3-point shot go down here. That's what I need to see. So if I'm a betting man right now, and I say, forget about the series itself, I'm betting Kyrie Irving in the first quarter of game number 3. Because if he shows up, we got a game. If he doesn't, Celtics 3-0 end the series.
The Celtics have played 6 road games throughout this postseason. They're a perfect 6-0 straight up. I don't really think there's a conversation about who wins the NBA championship. I don't think Dallas can win 4 of the next 5. The Celtics get banner number 18. Who's going to win NBA Finals MVP? At this point, is it Drew Holiday? Is it Jaylen Brown? Jason Tatum still the favorite?
Yeah.
What the world? We'll talk about that later. MLB Weekend Recaps next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
More than 2 months into this Major League Baseball season as we get deeper and deeper into June, and the summer months are on the horizon. What a weekend it was around MLB. A marquee matchup this weekend, DRS, inside Yankee Stadium, up in the Bronx for the first time in nearly a decade. 8 seasons. The Los Angeles Dodgers make the trip to New York to take on the Yankees. LA was actually booked as a slight series underdog to win this 3-game set before things started. LA won the series. The question entering the finale last night was, could the Dodgers sweep the Yankees? New York responds in the third and final game with a 6-4 victory over the Dodgers. What a game it was on Friday. Took a little bit of time, but with Ben Stevens, that's me, in attendance, we went to extra innings, and the Dodgers won it in 11. Teoscar Hernandez had himself a weekend in New York. Game-winning 2 RBI double in that 11th inning in extras on Friday. Had 2 home runs in 6 ribbies on Saturday in the 11-3 blowout for the Dodgers over the Yankees. Even a home run yesterday for LA. Ultimately, though, not enough against New York, where Aaron Judge was also great this weekend. 3 home runs in the final 2 games. Leads all of the bigs this year, now with 24 long balls.
Yeah, usually expect Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman to be the leaders there for the Dodgers. But my goodness, Teoscar Hernandez, because that lineup is so deep all the way through. You don't get any deep breaths here because Will Smith bats right in front of him. You can't pitch around him. You get pitches to hit for Teoscar, and it worked out in his favor. But also, let's keep in mind, Juan Soto, who was, neck and neck technically with Aaron Judge here to win the MVP in the American League, did not play at all in this series due to forearm tightness. Now, the Yankees aren't all that worried about it, but just wanted to give him some time off. But as I say that, you look at Aaron Judge, 3 hits yesterday out of 4 at-bats, 2 RBI, 1 home run, batting average on the season now, 305. That is absolutely incredible because when you're taking a look at pure power hitters, you figure if they can hang around 260, that is a huge boon to your team. But a guy that hits with power and is hitting 305, the sky is the limit for him this summer as long as he doesn't get injured because, I always talk about when we start to get in those hitting environments where the weather is warmer in Yankee Stadium and you see what he's able to do. We'll see when Juan Soto comes back, but that was a fun series from start to finish. A lot of back-and-forth action, which included that game last night with 2 great pitchers on the mound, and the bats just came up a little bit better. 10 total runs last night, but my focus continues to be on how good Aaron Judge has been for the New York Yankees.
And the Dodgers were a favorite for the third and final game with Tyler Glasnow on the bump. The Yankees win as a slight home underdog. Total of 7.5 does sky over. Not a great outing from Glasnow despite 12 strikeouts. He did give up 5 earned. Luis Gil, 5 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, but still a good outing who has been a member of many quality starts for the Yanks this year. Think about what Aaron Judge has done, not just as of late, but in the last month. Donnie, the conversation around New York entering this Major League Baseball season with all the optimism once again, adding Juan Soto to the crew up in the Bronx, was could the Yankees finally win a World Series for the first time since 2009? They had the cast and crew to do so. Garrett Cole, arm issues out of spring training. Aaron Judge, slightly banged up in spring training as well. And it took a while for Judge to get going. He was batting 197 on May the 2nd. But from that point, he has turned it on. Now, the New York Yankees, most wins in all of Major League Baseball at this moment with 46. And as we look back on this weekend and where things stand, it's still seemingly like we could see the Dodgers and the Yankees not 8 years from now once again in the Bronx, but maybe come late October, early November. The Yanks still remain the favorites to win the American League pennant at plus 190. Actually, 10 cents from their price to win a World Series. Same with the Dodgers. Those 2 teams, Donnie, continue to be separated by just $1.50, with the 2 shortest numbers to win a World Series here during the 2024 MLB campaign.
Expectations should be that way, too, because you're expecting actually better things on the horizon for both of these ball clubs, starting with their starting pitching on both sides here, getting guys back into the lineup, getting them healthy. The Walker Buehlers of the world will be much better from what we think from in June, July, August, a couple more starts under his belt, and also Garrett Cole coming back to the rotation here for the New York Yankees. I enjoyed this series all the way through, and, from the betting public standards as well, we have to understand this. Sports books are going to move numbers around based on bets that they're going to take. There's no too big a betting market markets in the country than Los Angeles and New York, where where people want to get down on those teams. So you have to take a look at places like the FanDuel Sportsbook that do want to be insulated from that influx of numbers. And also, they're not giving you any reason at this point to doubt them. It's like, they're just taking money because everybody likes to bet them. No, they're two really quality teams that you're watching going toe-to-toe. So rightfully so, they're going to be the tops of that leaderboard, which they are.
Yeah, the two most public teams that you would think would dominate that public betting handle. By the way, the Dodgers, 8-game lead in the National League West. The division, they have won 10 of the last 11 years. They are the only team above 500. Now, minus 6,000 for L.A. to win that division. Much closer in the American League East. Only a 2.5-game advantage for New York over Baltimore. The O's playing some great baseball, looking for a 4-game sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays on this Monday. Baltimore winning all 3 games this weekend in the Trop. There are 3 teams in the American League with more than 40 wins. The Yankees, the Orioles, and the Cleveland Guardians. Only 2 in the National League. That's the Philadelphia Phillies and the LA Dodgers, now with 41. Donnie, of these 2 teams, right here, right now, second full week of June, the Dodgers or the Yankees, who do you think has a better chance of playing in the Fall Classic for a World Series?
That's a good question, because I do think we're not looking at a league. Let's just put it in NBA terms, right? Eastern Conference. So it's always going to be the Celtics moving through. The Western Conference, it's really tough here. Any one of 4 or 5 teams can get there. I don't feel that. I feel like it's going to be the Dodgers and or the Phillies that make it there. And then you're taking a look at maybe just the 2 teams in the AL East, being the Orioles and also the Yankees. But if I had to bet who was going to get to the World Series, I still would probably place that wager on the New York Yankees, because they are a big market team. If Garrett Cole, put it this way, if Garrett Cole comes back to that lineup and is any good as what he was last year, I mean, watch out. But look, you have to always take it with a grain of salt. This is a pitcher with arm problems heading into the season. They're trying to take it slow. But we've been down this path before. 2 starts in, back to the IL, and it just doesn't work out in your favor. So at this point, I'm expecting Cole to come back and be very good. I'll take the Yankees as the better chance to get back.
Listen, they're doing all of this. They have the most wins in the bigs without their ace and the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner. I think it is very sound judgment. Elsewhere around Major League Baseball, including across the pond next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Marquee matchups across the board this weekend in Major League Baseball, not just in Yankee Stadium, not just in the United States. We go abroad to foggy old London town across the pond for a 2-game international set between National League East foes, the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. The Phils victorious in game number 1 on Saturday afternoon. 7-2 the victory over New York, including a Bryce Harper home run and a soccer celebration knee slide back into the dugout. Nick Castellanos, a long ball abroad as well, continuing to figure things out at the dish, which is why, Donnie, Philadelphia, and yourself included, probably felt rather optimistic with Castellanos up at the dish in game number 2 yesterday. Bases juiced, 1 out, bottom of the 9th, Philly down 6-5. But it was a slow roller right in front of the plate. Luis Torrens, the catcher for the Mets, steps on home, turns and fires to first, and turns the 2-3 double play to end the game. New York survives with a 6-5 win to take game number 2 to split the across-the-pond series against Philadelphia.
Yeah, Phillies had a 3-0 lead in that game. Gregory Soto came in out of the bullpen and blew that game up right away. And then you also take a look at the Phillies taking a 4-3 lead. Couldn't hold that one because Jose Alvarado was terrible trying to close out that game. But yet the Phillies still had a legitimate chance to come in and win this game. And all you always say, like, just put the ball in play. Well, technically he did, but it was really de facto bunt. If that actually swinging bunt goes 2 or 3 feet further, the Phillies would wind up probably tying that game because the catcher wouldn't have been able to catch the ball and get back to home plate enough time for that tag out. You probably throw the ball to second looking for a double play, and it probably wouldn't have taken place. It's a good win for the Mets. That's a really bad loss for the Philadelphia Phillies, but you asked me on Friday what the expectations for me for that series were. It was going to be a split. I just thought game number 2, the Phillies would lose because you had Taijuan Walker on the mound, who hasn't been very good, and he was extremely good in that game, and that's the game you lost when your bullpen has been one of the best in baseball that gave it away to a bad Mets team.
Yeah, that's what happens. But listen, Philadelphia is still the best record in MLB, splitting the London series 45-20, 1 fewer win, but also 1 fewer loss than that of the New York Yankees, who are 46-21. So technically, the win percentage does favor the Phils. Now we go elsewhere around MLB. The Royals were looking for a sweep at home yesterday against Seattle. We got a heck of a ball game as the Mariners avoid the sweep despite Melendez hitting a home run for KC to send it to extras. But in extras, we saw a ton of runs. 5 total runs in total between Seattle and KC as the Mariners win 6-5 to avoid the sweep.
First place there, 37-30. It's kind of funny because you say this, okay, you saw the Mariners win. Oh, what's the Royals record? 39-27. Still a really good baseball team fighting for a playoff spot. The Mariners just might be, I guess, the class of the West at this point. And I don't really think that West is all that good, but you're going to need victories like that, which include plating 3 runs in the top of the 10th, only to stave off the loss by holding the Royals to 2 in the bottom of that frame. So as you said, very good game here. Ends up going over. Why? Because we hit extra innings.
Yeah, very much so. Again, right now, Seattle is the only team in the American League West with a winning record. In fact, they are the only team in the ALS that is not 3 games below 500 or worse. That's where the Rangers are at 31-34, 5-game lead for Texas. As we often say after the weekend, where is the fourth? The Houston Astros did lose yesterday to not pick up the sweep in Anaheim, but did win the weekend set against the Angels. Elsewhere around MLB, Baltimore, 4th and final game of their weekend series today in the Trop against Tampa. The O's have won the first 3. Big game out of Adley Rutschman yesterday as Baltimore wins 9-2. The Twins and the Pirates. Pittsburgh takes 2 in that series. Pittsburgh has won their last 2 series against the LA Dodgers and now Minnesota. The Twins had lost 5 straight into the finale yesterday. They win that one. And I highlight the National League Central DRS because since he wins a 4-game set against the Cubs, make that 3 of 4 for the Reds, who entered on a 5-game win streak entering the weekend. There's only one team with a winning record in the NL Central. It's the Milwaukee Brewers, but everybody, including the Pirates, 3 games below 500 or better, things tightening ever so slightly to figure out how the rest of that division will play out.
Yeah, a couple of these teams going the wrong direction here, but you do like maybe the promise of the Cincinnati Reds as the team that might be able to chase down the Brewers. But you take a look at 32 and 34, 32 and 34, 31 and 33, 31 and 34. So even though those teams are under 500, there's no real basement dwellers there, like 10 or 15 games under. It's a competitive division, but it clearly looks like right now the Brewers are the class of that division.
Yeah, certainly so. The Reds, though, have won 12 of their last 16. Hour 2 and a weekend of winners. Up next, here on the Early Line.